plaintiff, Donnie Young, dated the defendant in the late 80s. And when she got pregnant, she told Donnie he was the father. However, Donnie has his doubts, especially since the defendant's daughter is named after her ex-boyfriend. Donnie petitioned the court for a paternity test, and he's suing for an overpayment of child support. Defendant Desiree Fisher cannot believe that Donnie waited 24 years to ask for a paternity test for their daughter. Desiree is countersuing for unpaid child support, and she petitioned for her ex-boyfriend, who's with her in court, to take a DNA test to prove he did not father her daughter.
Let me hear from you.
Your Honor, I met Desiree back in '87, late '87, '88. We had a relationship that lasted close to a year. She lived with me for a period of time. She became pregnant. We fell out and went our separate ways. I ended up going to jail for selling drugs. Since I've been out, I've changed my life around. I attend church regularly.
He's a deacon.
I am a practicing deacon, and I sing in a choir.
Good.
Oh.
How about what are you doing for a living, are you?
I have my own construction company.
Good.
I'm a carpenter.
Excellent.
So
Construction workers get plenty of money, and depending on how far you want to go and how much you want to work, you can become wealthy.
Yes.
Become a wealthy developer. I say all this because guys in prison or guys with a record, they think because no one is ever going to hire them that their life is over. There's no way for me to get a lot of money other than selling drugs.
That's correct.
You start out painting houses, you start out fixing the porch, then you go and get your skilled trades license,
Yes, sir.
then you start your own company, am I right?
Definitely.
Then 10 years later, you can be rich. I know a lot of people that started off as contractors, and 10 years later, they're rich. So that's a good lesson that others might learn from you.
Yes,
Glad
sir.
you told me about that.
Yes.
So what happened? Let's get back to what we're here for. And you all dated in '88. You went to prison. How much time did you get?
I did about 16, 17 years.
Yeah. You had some kilos?
I was in a drug conspiracy. Yes,
Huh?
it was keys.
Yeah, it had to be.
Quite a bit. Yeah.
Drug ringleader.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot. Well, he's overcome it. That's the good news. Go ahead.
Our relationship broke up and we went our separate ways. And while I was incarcerated, I talked to Desiree on and off on the telephone.
With visits.
And she
Let her
informed
finish.
me that her ex-boyfriend, which is Dion here, was coming to visit her. And when Desiree ended up having Deonica, she named Deonica after Dion. I asked her about that.
After her ex.
Yes, she did.
You named his child after your ex?
He wasn't there.
Before you went
Before
to
we
prison, you had a
before I
lot
went
of
to
money,
prison.
right?
Yes, sir.
And she benefited from that money, right?
Yes, she did. I left her
And
a
so
Mercedes.
her response when I
left her
said
a
you
Mercedes.
named, huh?
I left her a Mercedes-Benz.
And her response to why she named your baby after her ex, said he was in prison, he wasn't there. I had spent all this money and got him locked up, so now I can name my baby after my ex. Wow. Go right ahead, sir.
I had the baby.
Let him finish, ma'am. I'll let you.
Not only that, Your Honor, I believe she enticed my daughter to name her first child after Dion. His name is Dion, too. But, Your Honor, anyway,
Let me allow her to speak.
Okay.
Go ahead, ma'am. What do you want to say?
I am shocked at all of this.
All right, that's
I can't
all you want to
believe-
say?
No, no, that is
What
not.
else do you want me to
I cannot
know?
believe that now, after 24 years, because she'll be 24 December the 5th, which he probably doesn't know because he wasn't there when I was pregnant, and he was not there when I had her. And him saying that he left me a Mercedes, no. The police picked the Mercedes up. I had to pay the money to get it back because he wanted the car. And mind you, she was born 6 months before he went to jail. She wasn't born after he was locked up. It was before he went to jail. And as I was going to the
Did they
hospital.
lock you up too?
No, they didn't. He was with another girl when he got locked up.
But
She
they
went
knew
with him.
you lived with him, right?
I lived with him.
All right, a
not
lot of
when
times they lock the person up who
Okay.
lives with them. They lock the woman up who's benefiting. They lock the woman up who's driving the Mercedes. They lock the woman up who's living the high life.
But I
They
wasn't
usually
living
do.
the high
That's
life. He had a woman when he
did he
went
live
to jail.
with you or not?
He lived with me when I was pregnant.
right.
When I was
Did he pay the rent?
During my pregnancy, he
No,
owned the
listen
house.
now what I'm asking you. When he lived with you, was he selling drugs?
To my understanding, yes.
And he lived with you. And he paid the rent.
He owned the house.
Right. And so you lived under the roof of a drug dealer. Let me just advise you, next time don't live with a drug dealer because you'll go to prison with him. All right? Let's just get past that. What else you want me to know?
I want you to know that he is the father, and why is he asking for a DNA after 24 years after she's here? I even asked him at the time when I had the baby or when I got pregnant, if you wanted a DNA, let's get it out now. I'll pay my half, you pay your half. He didn't want to pay.
And you've also petitioned the court for a DNA test for your witness?
Yes.
Plaintiff Donnie Young is suing his ex, who insists Donnie fathered her 23-year-old daughter. But Donnie has his doubts, especially since the defendant named her daughter after her ex-boyfriend. So he petitioned the court for a DNA test.
Sir, why after 23 years you want a DNA test?
Being that she's named after her ex.
When did you just found that out today?
No, I've been knowing that for some time.
How many years have you been knowing
I've been knowing this since she told me on the phone back in probably 90.
How many years is that?
So
23 years?
Yes.
So once again, if you knew that the child was named after him 23 years ago, why are you just making it an issue?
Just something that came up, right?
Oh.
It's just something that came up. I've always wanted to know.
Okay, you were at the altar and it just... I know your deacon maybe it has something to do with religion. I don't know. Did it have something to do with religion? You got a light, you found Jesus? I'm just curious, sir, because this is very odd.
Yes.
That 23 years after your child is born, you suddenly want a DNA test. And you say back then the child was named after her ex.
Yes.
It's just something very odd. I'm with her.
Yes.
And the daughter. I'm sure she is very insulted, embarrassed, and everything else. Woo! Child support. This is so weird because you're suing for overpayment.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Meaning that for 18 years you were given a check. Then you haven't had to pay a dime in 5 years. Then you finally pop up and say, well, it may not be my child after all. I know I done paid $70,000, $80,000, but let me just get this checked out for sure. You've already spent your money, sir.
That's correct.
Why didn't you check it out then? This is very odd, sir. Like I said, something came over you. Show me evidence that you've overpaid. Did you have something from the child support agency?
This is
you have
from,
to show me proof from them.
Family Support Division.
There you go. Let me see it. Balance minus $397. Ma'am, he presents something to me saying he's overpaid you $397.27.
Okay.
Any comment? Any defense to not giving it back?
He didn't pay anything 15 years of her living.
I understand. Did you tell child support that?
Yes, I did.
Did they say anything? Or did they tell you this? Did they tell you this?
No, they told me.
Did they tell you pay that $397?
No, they didn't. They told me that it was a gift.
Look at it. Look at it. Read it, man.
I understand what you're saying. I have this here too. But I have when he started paying child support and when I contacted...
Ma'am, the final ruling says $397 he overpaid you. Give me something in writing that says the final amount of the child support status.
Oh, I have the same thing that he has, right?
Well, then.
That shows that, yeah, but what about those 15 years that he didn't pay anything?
If they did not give you credit or take it away, I can't. You have to go by what they say.
When I tried to get child support.
All right, your
from
counterclaim for $3,000 is for back child support.
Right.
Even though that says you owe him, you say he owes you.
He owes me because while he was incarcerated, I took care of her.
Okay, ma'am, go back to child support. All I can go by is what they present me today. So let's go and get the DNA. And I don't know where you coming from with this. Anyone want to speak over here? Young lady, come on up. State your name.
Deanna Fisher.
Why don't you tell me what you want me to know?
I want to know why, after 23 years, why would you turn around and take me through this?
Yeah, we all want to know. Sir, you hear your own daughter saying this? Why would you take her through this?
I've accepted her as my daughter, even though she's named
So
after
what happened
someone.
23 years later?
That's something I can't tell you, Your Honor.
Oh, okay. It's a secret.
I haven't.
Don't you think she's entitled to know? The one you're embarrassing?
Not that he wrote me letters when he was in jail and would tell me what he would do for me when he got out.
And
when
she
I went
isn't
to live
entitled
with
to
him-
know this secret as to why 23 years later you question whether you're her daddy. You have a reason, and you don't even want to tell her what that reason is.
Well, I've always had this question in my mind for 23 years.
Well,
I
why
didn't
didn't you?
know.
Why didn't you pay the DNA? You had the money. You drove drugs. If you wasn't for sure,
That's
why didn't you
irrelevant.
pay the money back then? It's not irrelevant. If you wasn't unsure, she was named Deanna 6 months before you went to jail. Why didn't you pay the money then, since you had it?
And I have another question. Why would you tell them people that I told you that my mom was abusive? Why would you say that? I've never told you that
I
a day
didn't
in
say
my
that
life.
your mom was
You
abusive.
called DHR, and they called my mother. And my mother thinks that I have something to do with that. I never would do my mom like that because she done took care of me, and I'm dang near 24, and I have 2 kids. And she's taking care of them too. And you've never did nothing. Nothing. I call
Deacon?
you and ask you to do things for me.
Deacon, you hear
And
this?
you don't. You turn around and ask, where's your mother at? When you got out of jail, my mama gave you a car. When you got out of jail, my mama
A car?
helped you, gave you money to pay to even be bothered with me. You never wanted to be bothered with me. You was always bothered with the other 2, but not me. Then when I came to stay with you, you wanted to be
That's when
bothered.
the
And then you
DHR
moved me in with somebody else that I did not know. and added
DHR
some
was
hole in the
investigating
ground.
you because you hit her when she came and lived with you for a month.
Yeah,
I didn't call
you got mad at a
the
grown person
school
driving.
called
I'm
the
16
DHR
years
on you,
old.
not me.
I listen to one person. I got to listen to one person. I can't listen to both of you.
Girl, listen to me.
Okay, well, I'm telling
Listen
you.
to me then.
Why would
Yeah.
you?
And that is, we're going to see whether you're the father or not.
Plaintiff Donnie Young is suing his ex, who insists Donnie fathered her 23-year-old daughter. But Donnie has his doubts, especially since the defendant named her daughter after her ex-boyfriend. So he petitioned the court for a DNA test.
This is the weirdest thing. Did you go and pray with your pastor over this?
No.
No.
Okay, well, next time you intend to do something so potentially life-changing for you and your daughter, go have a little consultation with your pastor so that you know that you're not making a mistake. That's one of the purposes of having a spiritual life, because you're the daddy.
Sir.
Told you.
All right.
I knew it. I told you.
Now what? Now, you
Yeah.
thought you was bothering me, but you bothered
Yeah.
her. You can never touch me, baby. If I could have chose and put back, I probably would have chose.
Sir, you've probably
If I had to go through all that.
probably caused some significant and perhaps everlasting damage with your daughter coming with this nonsense 23 years later. Hopefully you can find it within your heart to understand what you did, and that she can find it in her heart to forgive you. Also, ma'am, all I can go with is what they say
And
there.
I'm cool with that. I'm
All right, so
Okay.
$398 you get, along with all this embarrassment and humiliation that you received.
If you was worried about her name, why weren't you at the hospital? If you wanted to do a name.
Then it's
You were
funny.
going
You said
one
you
way
didn't
with
even know
some
I was
woman,
born.
And I was going the
All
other
right.
way in labor,
All right,
in your Mercedes.
And Dion is in the Bible.
y'all go ahead. Y'all can get him straight. I don't mind. Y'all
Now,
get him straight.
Where's your witness? Now,
Lord,
you
yeah.
want to give your daughter a hug since it shows you the daddy? Daddy? You ain't never had no baby mama drama from you. You the drama.
I see y'all
Churchified Deacon Young. Well, you ain't got nothing to say now? Talk up now.
I don't speak like
What?
I
You don't speak like that. You
over
just try
ignorance.
to hurt people like your daughter. You can't never hurt me, bud. You the daddy. You the daddy. Now what?
I love my daughter. It's something that was in the back of my mind. I don't have to worry about that anymore.
Let him know right now so he won't be confused when we get back home. So when you do show up at the church, he won't look like this in the choir.
I'm not gonna show up at his church. I don't even want to be
Out
bothered
of
with
my
it.
9 years in church, y'all pop up one time and now you're talking about
You
church
never
all the
invited
time?
us. We had to figure out what church you was at, Deacon.
We recently spoke with plaintiff Donnie Young, who said his daughter with defendant Desiree Fisher is now 31, and they spend a lot of time together. Donnie said he hasn't spoken with Desiree since the case, but he's currently working as a union carpenter and is doing well. We also spoke with Desiree, who claims that although her daughter tries to talk to Donnie, he rarely responds. Desiree said that her daughter has 2 children of her own, and Donnie doesn't see them.